Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching The Big Picture with your host Kriti Mishra. Though the coronavirus pandemic hit all the sectors of the economy in the country, the growth in the export of agricultural commodities continues in the country. The export of agri and allied commodities during April 2020 to February 2021 was worth 2.74 lakh crore as compared to 2.31 lakh crore in the same period last year, indicating an increase of 18.49%. The commodities which posted significant positive growth in exports were wheat, other cereals, rice other than basmati, soya meal, spices, sugar, raw cotton, fresh vegetables, processed vegetables, and alcoholic beverages. And for deeper insights, I'm joined by Mr. Tarun Bajaj, Director APIDA, and Mr. Sandeep Das, expert on agriculture. Welcome to Ratsabha Television, both of you, and thank you so much for joining us through this virtual platform.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Bajaj, coming to you first. India has consistently maintained trade surplus in the agricultural products over the years. And yet again, agriculture has emerged as the bright spot when the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted economies worldwide. Your opening comments, sir.
Yes, definitely. You rightly said we have done very well, and we are hoping that we will continue to do even in the coming times also. Thanks to our farmers, their hard work, the entire our industries, entrepreneurs, exporters, and of course the favorable government policies, the incentives they have given, all that has helped us in achieving this target. And I personally feel in the initial times when, let's recollect a year before, that time was a very tough time. Of course, we are facing similar kind of a situation now, but we are better prepared as compared to that time. But initial period of the start of the year, if you say, we had many challenges in terms of supply management, in terms of logistics, in terms of labor management, in terms of finance. Many other challenges were there. And first 3 months, of course, you see. But we maintained, continued the supply chain, continued exports, and we ensured that the supply is not affected. I will just tell you one thing, there were many countries who were looking to India to supply food items, and we ensured that their requirement is sent in time as per the requirement and the quality they wanted. And many of times we sent a special chartered planes to ensure that their supply is not affected. The continued year, throughout the year, we ensured tremendous amount of ease of doing business. Then favorable government policies were there, very, very favorable government policies. There was almost many of the things, there was zero compliance in certain things. Of course, not on the quality matters, because we wanted to be sure on the quality issues. Encouragement, incentives, and then we have now at a stage where you are admitting that we are now giving a good, substantial growth in this sector.
Absolutely, point well taken, Dr. Bajaj. But Ms. Das, this growth gains paramount importance at a juncture when the domestic food supply chain, even once during the unprecedented crisis unleashed by the pandemic, was not disrupted.
Absolutely. If you recall this a year back, say about March 24, if I remember correctly, the lockdown was announced, and this is last year. Not a single day has a milk supply stopped? No. Has any egg supply stopped? No. In a country like India, in fact, we ensure the uninterrupted supplies of milk, vegetables, fruits, all across. Food supply was never there. Thanks to our monsoon also, we have a huge production of, and also you must understand that this export come in the background. There is a particularly last year, what happened, many of the countries in Africa, they started to stockpile, anticipating that COVID will create a lot of issues and all. And that's why if you look at our non-Basmati export has increased hugely, more than double, in fact, if compared to the 2019-20 period. And the point is that many of the key export rice exporting countries, Vietnam and other countries, they had a weather problem, and many of countries are playing very safe that whether we should export or not export, basically. But India was in a position to export. We had a tremendous surplus of grains. And that also ensure that supply to spread. And Basmati rice also, although non-Basmati rice has gone separately, Basmati rice also shown sustained its export. Basically, look at the logistical problem we had, global logistical, in terms of ship, in terms of container. There's a lot of problem faced by across globe. Amidst that, achieving this kind of export is a very phenomenal job. And being India is such a huge with so much of population that you need to understand that our domestic consumption is huge. Amidst that, we have managed to export. It's a huge amount of it. Credit goes to farmers and particularly the value chains and those people and a lot government, private sector who work on that to ensure that export is sustained and world is not deprived of at least the core cereals and other products.
Absolutely. Since there was no disruption in the supply chain, Dr. Bajaj, I'd like to understand, what were some of the country-specific initiatives or approaches that India took on the export front?
Many initiatives. In fact, if you see, the first initiatives were the financial incentives they were given, whether it is interest subvention scheme, then there were other schemes of Ministry of Food Processing and EPIDA also, state governments also encouraged. So that is one. Then, as I said in the beginning, that wherever there were some kind of a compliances, there were virtually zero compliances, not compromising on the quality. Quality, of course, we had to do it. Not on that quality, of course, I would say we ensured that we meet the required quality of the importing country and also of the whatever is the required quality norms of the domestic market. At the same time, the entire government machinery, they were on their toes, I tell you. We were working 24 hours, 365 days. We were receiving the calls, we were providing them all kinds of support they wanted. Support from a tiny support that they need curfew passes for their labor to the finding problem at the port. That kind of, all that issues which they were facing, government machinery, including EPIDA, I would say, all we were having help desk, we are ensuring that their issues are addressed. Also, we conducted buyer-seller meets, because we cannot have trade fairs participation. We conducted buyer-seller meets. In EPIDA itself, we conducted 25 virtual buyer-seller meets with the help of embassies. There, I would also acknowledge the support of our missions. They have also done a commendable job. Missions have done a very good job. They ensured that whatever the issues, they are addressed. And then they also helped in market promotion, linkages, whatever was required. Plus, all credit, we cannot forget the hard work of our farmers. They have done a good job. The farmers have, they put in a hard work. They ensured that our produce is surplus. Our entrepreneurs, they continue to produce what is required and to meet the requirement. So everything, I'd say, it is entire, all those, the stakeholders, they have played a very important and vital role. Plus, you see the Atmanirbhars of Honorable Prime Minister's comment, which he said, that also played it. Everybody ensured that there is ease of doing business and they were able to be at comfort to ensure that the COVID pandemic is not affected the supply chain and all the exports, which we have been doing.
Of course, the focus was on vocal for local, but being global at the same time. Mr. Das, we understand that India has captured new markets, namely Brazil, Chile. Exports were also made to Togo, Senegal, Malaysia, Iraq, Bangladesh, Mozambique, Vietnam, Tanzania, and even Madagascar. But what are the efforts that now we need to put in to diversify the export basket and to boost high value and value added agricultural exports?
See, essentially look at that although we have expanded all across South America and in the African countries, traditionally these countries have been, we were exporting cereals to these countries and African countries and all. Now next is to ensure that high value export takes place.
Yes.
Because in terms of look at the mangoes and other countries, high values, instead of going for the volume part, high value export, that will give us fetch more money, especially in Europe and the American market. For that, a lot of work has done. APIDA's job in grapes is one of the huge example. GrapeNet, how they export grapes and how traceability, those kind of initiative taken place. So we need traceability in all other products and also at least the consumer, because high-paying consumer, I should say, in Europe or America, they want a traceability factor also. So and also these countries, many of the developed countries like Japan, South Korea, and Asia also, they have a stringent food standards, and we have managed to adhere to the standard, and traceability will add to that. So APIDA has been doing those kind of stuff, particularly as I refer to the GrapeNet. They have a MangoNet. They have so there's an online traceability. They have, and there are a lot of IT platform has been used so that consumer can trace back. If you buy, suppose, a grape pack, you can trace back which farmer this comes from in Maharashtra. So that's kind of stuff. And another emerging area I see is the new emerging area, I should call it, from the northeastern states. Our northeastern states is endowed with richness in terms of horticulture produce and agriculture produce. Now the production, this particularly in the COVID time, there has been a huge export from that place to from northeastern states to many of the Dubai market and other markets on fruits and vegetables. That is emerging area, and because that's ensure that the quality is superb. Only thing is to ensure that the logistical things are taken care of, because ultimately most of our agriculture produce are perishable.
Yes.
Except for cereals and all, particular fruits and vegetables are very, very perishable product. So that's why the northeastern is emerging area, and we have been zoned. The agriculture export policy of 2019 has a zonal system. So every district has its own unique product. So we are in a unique stand. I think next 5 to 10 years we're in a unique position to emerge as one of the. I won't be saying that India will be the biggest exporter, but given our domestic needs and all, we'll be a major player in many of the commodities. Like rice, we are the biggest exporter for the last 4 or 5 years. And will emerge as you see, wheat also will emerge, and particularly food service. Can you imagine that? One fact I must admit, that during COVID time, since March, April, India exported fresh fruits and vegetables to European market. Is it possible that, just imagine, fresh fruits were exported from there? So that means that we have a robust system, and while ensuring supply domestically, we managed to export fresh foods to the European market, which is a huge thing to, and that brings to our why we need. Although this debate is not about why you need a contract farming, because this ensures that because of contract farming that happened, because people producer contracted and quality producer exported essentially. So that's why saying that I am very bullish about next 5 to 10 years about Indian export of agriculture and allied products essentially.
Absolutely, all of us are extremely bullish about the prospects of exports, particularly the agricultural exports. But at this juncture, I'm also reminded of the GI tag. Dr. Bajaj, there has been a lot of focus on the GI tag. How has that helped our agricultural exports?
Of course, yes. Of course, GI tag, you understand, everybody knows is that because of the geographical indication, we have now at present 130 agri products which are registered as GI. And we, out of this, of course, Basmati rice, everybody knows, Darjeeling tea, many other products are known to the people, but many of them are, of course, of a production level is not that significant that we go for exports. We have to develop their export base. But GI is an important aspect which is identified. In fact, our Honorable Prime Minister is also giving emphasis to GI. What we are realizing that GI, we will be able to sell our produce easily, and also at a premium. And ultimately, those who are producing and developing these GI products, they will be, benefited in the chain. For example, I'll say, now we are selling Basmati rice to the world, but we want to sell Basmati rice as a GI. So suppose we are getting a price of, say, 100, I'm just giving a hypothetical figure, say X, then we'll be able to get X square, because if not X square, maybe 25%, 30% more than the X, because it is a premium product. Secondly, it is also, presently tourism is affected, but when tourists come to India, they would definitely like to buy something which is unique to that country. A unique is what? GI. So they would like to buy those unique products and carry to their countries and way back and take it as a souvenir to the people. So that GI is going to be promoted. We have done a lot of efforts, at least this year, and in the coming times also we are going to promote GI. We have conducted especially we conducted with USA and UAE with the help of our missions, especially we conducted. Then we are also ensuring that these GI tags are well protected, well defended also, and well administered also at the same time. So GI is going to be promoted very well in the coming times.
And of course, that will open new avenues for us for the business. But Mr. Das, you were talking about the agriculture policy, which is focused on the exports. Now, the past strategy for development of the agriculture sector in India focused primarily on raising agricultural output and improving food security. But for the first time, we had the export policy for the agriculture sector in 2018. Today, how do you analyze the impact of this policy?
See, it was the thrust on, I should say that the thrust on for export of, if I remember correctly, because I tracked the export, volume of export, those kind of the last decade, it's the last about 7-8 years, I could say that our export has been very robust. Yes. Over 8 to 9 years, basically, with robust and export policy came, although earlier there was a policy, but this was a comprehensive export policy which is announced in 2018 and all. But we need to understand that it's not just about production. It's India is a unique country, and we have a unique agroclimatic zone all across the country. It's not that one kind of rice is grown. All across the country, different rice varieties are grown, different fruits and vegetables are grown, and so that gives us an advantage. And also the agroclimatic zone. India has we have a snowfall, we have a desert, we have a, say any weather or geographical, we have those kind of conditions. So we have a natural advantage in terms of export of agriculture produce and all. And that after ensuring that our production, because for obvious reason, our focus was on production, because we need to meet our domestic needs and, this obviously, because until we feed our own population, we meet our demand, we cannot be exporting the produce basically. Sure. But then how much is the produce, how much we need to evaluate this and all. So a lot of effort going to GI as geographical indication is one of the part of that. And also the clusters. Now we have identified clusters that every district will have unique products. Naturally, when you have a focused cluster approach, there will be better way of strengthening the value chain of export, essentially. Because gradually what is happening, gradually the international standards for produce are being strengthened. And obviously that will help us in the sense. We will improve our agriculture in terms of, suppose that there is something called GAP. GAP, that means is a norm used for agriculture practice. Yes. So that can be also, that is good for us. When you follow all kind of norms and all, I mean, look at the Basmati rice value chain. It has been continuously sustained that export because the backward integration, because the backward linkage with the farmers, and how to grow their farming practice and all. So that is how it happened basically. It has to be, entire value chain has to be strengthened from farmers to the export to the meeting the quality standards as Mr. Bajaj said, quality standard, and that is help us in improving our quality of produce and also expand our market approach. Already we have captured quite a bit of market in terms of cereals and also some of the meat products and all. But we have a huge opportunity in other products. Can you imagine the fact that I said 7 years back, about $2 billion of export we take of fruits and vegetables. Fresh fruits and vegetable India exports basically. So that is how the changes has come back. And the more the export, the more realization, the more the farmers income. So that is our link also basically. Our farmers will get empowered and also the productivity quality improves essentially.
Just to add,
see what Anil by the center. Yes, Dr. Bajaj, go ahead.
I think just to add to about agri-export policy. We see the best part is the agri-export policy envisaged better remuneration to the farmers and then involvement of states, complete holistic approach as far as agri-exports is concerned, value chain development, cluster development. Now, I give you an example. Now, as on date, at least 16 states have their own agri-export policy. They have agri-export complete network. Now, for states also now, agri-export is a priority. This is an important aspect. And you see, with this, within a shorter span, we have managed to develop Varanasi as our export hub. Varanasi, where there was no export, now we have a export of vegetables and mangoes. They are going on. Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh, I'll tell you, it's a mango belt. Banana belt. The cluster is there, and there was hardly 1,000 or 500 metric tons of banana which was being sourced. Today, 31,000 metric tons of banana has been sourced for export purposes, and all this banana, 9 rail gadis, trains have gone of banana, full of bananas from that district. This is because complete value chain development, end to end, involvement of everybody, including all the quality management, all stakeholders, from the farmers to the folk, that we can say complete chain. And this agri-export policy is giving us a good momentum as far as exports are concerned.
Dr. Bajaj, you made a very, very important and a very valid point there. As we know that most of the development initiatives or policies of agriculture are implemented by the states, as as agriculture is a state subject. But what is the way ahead for a more coordinated approach to reap these dividends between center and the states?
Again, agri-export policy which has come is a link between states and the center for the purposes of exports. Now, we are working in close coordination with the states. All states have their nodal office as far as agri-exports are concerned. All states have their nodal officers specifically who are dedicated and concentrating on exports. As I have just now mentioned, that many of the states have declared their own agri-export policy, state agri-export policy. We are doing so complete linkages there when we are complementing the efforts, both state and the center, and that's how we have now many success stories. Anantapur is one example I gave you. Like this, we have many, and similar efforts we have in northeastern sector. Northeastern sector, we are developing very well. We are working in close coordination with the states. We have, I think, this year the exports is likely to be at least 30 to 35% more than the last year on the northeastern region, I would call it. And I'm not talking from northeastern to the metropolitan cities what producers come. So this is all close coordination between the state and the center, which has resulted in this, which is going to give us better results in the coming times also.
And of course, we hope for many more success stories. But before we end this conversation, closing comments from both my guests. Mr. Das, agri exports and doubling farmers' income, way ahead.
Yeah, the way ahead is essentially the SEEP. Just to get the two laws and one amendment which was passed, which became very debatable and all. That gives us a way ahead for that. But we need contact farming. If we want to improve export and quality, it need contact farming. Because traceability cannot be traceable. If you implement traceability, the importer particularly the person who export, he or she wants some kind of produce to be produced. So we need role of FPOs, farmer producer organization. We need contract farming, and which new legislation has given us the amended. And the quality, obviously, the input, the person who export is always ensure that good quality quality products are produced by the farmers. So that is how as I said, it's a very bullish, and the next, amid that challenging time of last 1 year, that we have managed to export. That nevertheless, we must acknowledge many times that we managed to export while other countries started stockpiling food grains.
Yes,
we managed to export, and we humanitarian ground we exported wheat also. Many countries, Afghanistan and other countries, Madagascar and all other countries. That shows that a resilience of our sector, and we need more investment perhaps in the value chain, more smooth tie between center and state, which is going on now for boosting our export. And Indian product will be soon known as a producer of India, like Basmati rice. The all other product will be also known like fruits vegetable from India. Actually, will soon our get their recognition globally.
Dr. Bajaj, you share this thought?
Yes, of course. And to add to it, exports helps in generating a bulk demand. Because the bulk, there are two ways of doing. One is you develop a supply and then you say you go for selling it outside. Another is you generate demand. When the demand is there, then it is relatively easier to develop the supply chain management. So exports help in generating bulk demand. When the bulk demand is there, the supply chain always develops, and then there is a better supply and better remuneration to those who are supplying, including the farmers and those who are in the supply chain management, complete supply chain management. Stakeholders are benefited. Farmers are definitely benefited. Goes without saying when there is exports in that. I'll give you an example. One particular city, I won't, name the cities or particular, because one example I would say there was an commodity which was selling at
No, sir, please go ahead. Go ahead. Name the city, name the product.
Okay, I'll say that, that was selling at 14 rupees ex farm price. 14 rupees ex farm price. So we managed, that is a landlocked state area. We managed, developed exports from that area, started exporting to Middle East and other countries. Immediately, the ex farm price from 14, it became 28. You see the doubling income. Doubling of the farmer's income is the best example. From 14 rupees to 28 rupees it became. So that is, a demand which is there. And of course, more was because the supply chain, the demand was more, and another emotionally also, the effect had, and everybody started, because bulk demand is there, they started raising their prices while supplying. So this helped in getting better income to them.
Absolutely.
Exports are definitely a better solution, a very good solution to help farmers double their income.
And of course, the focus is on harnessing the export potential of Indian agriculture. On that note, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
So that's all we have for you in this edition of The Big Picture. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.